Hello, everyone. Yeah. Yes. Victory celebration dance. Welcome to Get Resource. We go live every Friday at 12 noon. You can follow us on YouTube at Get Resourced. Check us live on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Yes, we always like to check in with what's alive in you, Summer. What's
I'm,
alive in you?
I'm feeling silly, a little bit anticipatory. It's a busy day. There's this evolutionary emergence summit going on that Sherry Cameron and Oris created. And it just looks like it's a lot of inspiring talks. You're on it, I'm on it. I'm talking again at 2:30. So if you catch this and want to pop on and join a whole bunch of amazing speakers for today and tomorrow, yeah, it's really worthwhile. You can listen to it in your car while you're cooking, while you're walking, or you can sit down with your journal. That's what's alive in me. And I'm feeling really,
Mm,
I don't know, dancing like the
Super.
Muppets. I have no idea. I'm just energized.
Mm,
That's what's alive in
Awesome.
me.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to create space later on this chat for more about the evolutionary emergence event. Give you a little space to
Okay.
talk about it. What's that about? And your talk coming up as well. Okay.
Yeah, and you're on a men's forum, right? You guys are gonna talk about
Yeah.
something there.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. We'll give each other space to speak to that. Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What's alive in you? So,
Um, Excitement. I had a little meditation right before this, so feeling sleepy and feeling fulfilled. I'm just in a space where I'm learning a lot, and it's stuff that I want to learn, and a body to connect to myself as a human being, to life, the life force energy within me. So I'm feeling full,
mm.
and that I get to practice it. I get to teach and facilitate it. So my cup is filled, and it allows me to come from a place of service when I'm feeling
So,
full myself.
oh, okay. Sorry, I was cutting you off there. I just wanted to confirm you're feeling full but not overwhelmed.
Uh, there's that hint of anxiousness and anxiety of like I'm not doing enough,
Hmm.
and it wants to fill in those quiet times with something to do,
Mm.
and then that's my restless, that's my hyperachiever, that's my judge, and I'm aware of it, and that's where the anxiousness and overwhelm is coming from. Is that it wants me to feel overwhelmed.
Oh, I think you might have to repeat
Yeah.
that for me. Hey, Chris. Hoo hoo, beautiful people. Hello. Yeah,
Hello, welcome,
exciting.
and welcome, Cassandra. Yeah, thank you for your comment. Thank you for witnessing us and witnessing me. Yeah. What did you want clarity on?
I don't know. I forget. I was just asking if your cup was full or if you were also feeling overwhelmed. And you answered that with a, yeah, your restless saboteur, if I'm hearing you correctly, tends to take over and wants you to fill in all the gaps, and then sometimes it pushes you over the edge to realize you've got too much on your plate. You can't eat it all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's familiar with that feeling of overwhelm. It wants to put me in that space. So I'm like, nope,
Okay.
create space for myself to do nothing, more space to do nothing.
Well, okay, this is what drives me nuts actually. I'm going to chime in there because people say they're doing nothing, but that's not true. I'm
Mm,
going to challenge you right there. It's not nothing. People get their creative ideas in that liminal space where it looks like they're doing nothing, but that's when ideas drop in. That's when you rejuvenate. That's when you give yourself space to like imagine and dream and create. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
two
really does.
phases, right?
Okay.
Phase of do nothingness is just to stop the busy work, to create
Ah,
space for creation to happen, right? And I
ah,
get where you're coming from of it's not really nothing that's going on. There's something going on. But when I create space to move away from the busyness, the tunnel vision, then I allow the life force energy, the divine, my intuition to speak for me, and that gets created. So it's as if like there's always something happening. Am I
mm.
forcing it to happen or am I allowing it to happen? That's the difference.
Okay. Force or allow.
Yeah. Cassandra says 100%. Ooh. And
Mhm.
Tracy, it's alive in you is sweat lodge. Yes, the first woman sweat.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm being reminded how powerful that is. I am full of gratitude. I am so excited. Yeah, is this when is this woman sweat? Has it happened? Is it going to happen today, tomorrow? Yeah, let us know.
Sunday, right?
Yeah. And Chris, what's alive in me? I'm feeling ready to make some changes for my health. Another sleepless night. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep's an important one, isn't it?
Mhm.
Glad you and Tracy are here. We thought we would talk about transition into our topic today, which is that we like to say relationships are assignments and what that actually means. Hmm. Okay, the sweat, women's sweat is tomorrow. Anyone looking to experience a traditional sweat, a very spiritual, internal, life giving experience? It is happening tomorrow, and we can put the details, or Tracy can put the details below
Mm.
this chat on Andre and my's page for people who want to partake in it. How many people can actually, how much space do you have? Like six
Mm.
people, 10 people? Is it really big? I don't even know. We have to actually come out there and experience one of yours. We haven't done that yet. So- All right.
Yeah. And Chris has a men's warrior sweat tomorrow. Yeah, and do send your details
You're doing them both tomorrow?
into the chat. Yeah, they're both doing it tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So it's not, okay. How
Okay.
do you do that? Do
Cool.
you have two spots? I'm confused. I'm like, what? 30 to 35 people? Really?
Wow, that's a lot of people for a sweat.
Oh,
Separate places. Okay.
oh, separate.
Mm.
Okay, so 15
Multiple
each.
different sweats. Okay.
Okay.
Sweat lodges. Yeah.
Yes.
So what's your definition of relationships or assignments? What comes through you when you hear that? And where does that come from? Like,
Where's it? That term?
yeah, yeah. I mean, why is that so poignant for you?
Hmm. Yeah, this is something I'm really, I guess when you say assignments, I'm like, okay, what's an assignment? Assignment is usually, people think of it as school or you've got something to do or get marked on. Um, and in life, I think of it as our assignment to come down here and to truly live an authentic life, to be in truth, to um, experience life. Um, and I don't know if I like, well, now that you're saying that, I'm like, I'm not sure I like the idea of the assignment because you get a good grade or a bad grade. And maybe I like to think of it more of like being on assignment, like as in an adventure or um, an opportunity to experience life fully in an adventure. So I think of an assignment as that way. Um, it's kind of like in the movies we see all sorts of people on adventures and we really want to see them enter snake pits and have these challenges with people and different things, and it's very exciting and we get to watch the movie and we experience all these excitement, but when it comes to our real life we don't want those things for some reason. um, and so for me it's about kind of embracing the fact that our life and our world is the greatest movie we will ever get to experience, and to be able more to observe it and experience it and notice the power that we have to really enjoy life through others as as mirrors mm, to our most divine nature, which allows us to create so many amazing things. Tracy and Chris are building sweats out there, and relationships allow us to build things that we can't do on our own. Um, you know, Dre, there's no way I would have built the conscious communication class that we did without you and without your reflection and the ideas that I get stimulated from. Um, and you know, my ex-husband and my daughter, like There's just some people who play such a pivotal part in your life that in order to get our assignment right, we have to be open to experience some discomfort sometimes, I guess. Yeah. To learn anything new, we're going to get uncomfortable. And so I guess the assignment is to embrace that discomfort and to charge ahead in life, always making decisions based in excitement and creativity and curiosity rather than fear. That to me is the crux of the assignment.
Thank you. Yeah. Grand Rising, Nate. Chris
Hey, Nate.
says relationships are divine interventions
Yeah.
and activations to our higher or highest better version of ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Interventions and
Mm,
activations. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It gives this potency for me, ah, this meaning to why I have the parents I have, why I have my brother in my life, my sister in my life. It provides like this adventure that consciously, I don't know if I chose my parents or not, though it allows me at a higher level that I did for a reason. And I think about this quote of like, people arrive for a reason, season, or eternity. And when I go out to the supermarket, I run into people. Like, what are the chances of that? It's like everything had to line up the day before, the week before, for us to just cross paths in that exact moment. It's as if I'm winning the lottery. And I was sharing this to myself before. Like, if I think about that, then it's a miracle that I came across this person at the supermarket. So why not say hi? Why not acknowledge their presence? You know? And when I think about relationship assignments, it gives me this excitement of like, let's do life together. Because I know that if I do life by myself, it's a lot easier. I can be in denial, lie to myself, keep myself comfortable. Though it's not a way I'm in a relationship with someone that the activations, like Chris says, the things in me that arise up triggers, reactivity, getting pissed off, that really shows that this is the stuff that I get to work with. That people are truly mirrors for me, and we use the saying like the people that trigger us the most are our Jedi trainers, right? So then it gives me this excitement and joy to be in the relationship and make it work, and have the willingness to commit to working these things with each other. And I think about like if I was by myself, right, in the woods, like a wild man, right? I could be either an animal, like a primal animal, like living amongst, the wolves and being a wolf man, right? Or like be so connected to nature that I'm a god. But let's say I'm a wild animal, right? Just connected. And you bring me back into civilization. I'm so disconnected, right? It's because my relating to you, Summer, my relating to my family, to the people around me is what makes me human. It's as if
Mm.
like a human being is meant to be a human being with other human beings. That biologically they even say we're social creatures. We evolved in tribes, in community. It's like the human experience is to be with other people, is to be in relationship.
Mm.
And so if I'm in a relationship with you and I see my triggers, all parts of myself, that is the process of human making. I am becoming more human. And if I call you and you call me towards my authenticity, and this is what fills me up so much, is that this work is revealing what's happening underneath the hood, moment by moment, revealing my authenticity, what makes me human. And our teacher says, connecting to life. When I see you, I'm connected to life. When I see others, I'm connected to what makes us human. and that gives me the greatest juice in life. It fills me up so much. It's so juicy. I love it. So spiritual assignments, relationship assignments, bringing all that together, it's like it's the process of me becoming human.
Ah, yeah, and I wonder human makes me think of human bodies, but you just reminded me of because relationships are assignments, they're spiritual assignments, and also remind me of who says this, that relationships are our spiritual practice.
Mm. Yeah, Adam
Who
Jackson.
is Adam? Thank you, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons. Relationships are our spiritual practice, and he'll say, you know what, yoga, uh, any type of spiritual practice that we do has nothing over relationships because that is where we're challenged the most. That's where we're get the most joy, the most life is in our relationships, particularly with our family members. And what did that say, Yoda? I missed it. Uh, oh, yes. Tracy is my Yoda, your Jedi Master trainer. That's right. I love Yoda. I really love Yoda. I love the whole thing about Star Wars, especially when Luke, I forget the type of plane he's in, but he says he's going through the Death Star, this big, gigantic, round blob of what we might call uh, evil or our shadow self or whatever, this negative big black ball. And there's only this tiny way in to just blow it to oblivion. And he's in the ship and he's trying to focus this clunky focusing device. And Obi-Wan says, "Trust the Force, Luke." And he's like, "What the heck was that?" He's like, he gets focused again. And then Obi-Wan says, "Trust me, Luke." And so then he turns off and he starts trusting in his own innate ability to sense the world around him. And of course, the story is it goes straight in one shot, and to me, it is one of the greatest metaphors of our life of really looking outside us for answers when the answers are right in front of us, when we trust ourselves to interact with what's right in front of us.
Mm,
Um, and to talk
mm,
about the life that's going on inside of us, the
mm,
emotions, the energy, the responses, and learn new ways to engage with it that brings about that meaning you say, Dre, that makes it so juicy for you. And so,
mhm. It's that connection as, when you reference the Death Star, right? And it's as if like that's the shadow, the dark side. And I liken it to like facing my shadows and allowing my shadows to be seen. And when I see other people's shadows, there's a relatability.
mm,
There's a connection with that, like I think one thing that we have in common is that we all have a shadow.
well, I'm curious because some people, and I don't really like the word shadow in a way, we all have these parts of us that are sabotage or we, whatever. So I'm kind of curious if you would define what you mean by that.
Oh, yeah. It's the parts of me, the personality aspects of myself, of my psyche that I hide away, that I suppress,
Mm.
deny, discard, or kill because I want to belong. I want to
Oh.
fit in.
Mm.
Right? It starts as early as, being a child and looking to my parents for substances, for food, for shelter, and I discard the parts of myself that are deemed unworthy so that I can receive a love and acceptance for my own survival. Mhm. Or cultural expectations or work expectations or societal expectations, who I should be to fit in and blend in and be like everybody else. Yeah. That's the shadow.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's what I
Ah,
call.
okay. And then that reminds me because, yeah, I remember being in a women's group and one of the women was like, well, I'm done with the dark stuff. I don't want anything to do with it. And there's a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And I thought to myself, uh oh. Because the nature of light is that it casts a shadow when something gets in its way.
Mm,
And so if we think of it just that way, that something's in the way of the light, of our ability to shine that, as Marion William would say, um, it's not our light that scares us or our darkness that scares us. It's our light. It's our power. It's our ability to. Um, and I guess what is that? It's just about affecting others in ways that is meaningful, really.
mm,
And so when we get into shadow, then, or we're into those places where we're hiding and we're ashamed of those pieces, then that's where we fall into depression or suicide or. And then what happens in relationships, since we're talking about those? What happens when we hide our shadow sides or we don't listen and we go into this, what they might call toxic relationships? Isn't that just where we're just living out our shadows together? Really?
mhm. Yeah, it's like if I hide enough about myself, it's like trying to get caught up on a lie that I've been telling, and eventually I'll kind of lose my way.
Mm.
And it takes a lot of energy to suppress. And so eventually, just like holding a beach ball in the water, I'm gonna get tired, and it's gonna come out sideways anyways. It's like the unconscious, right? In the form of name calling, judgments. If I'm judging my own self, I'm judging the shadows in other people too, right? It's moving away from the integration of wholeness and acceptance to separation and disconnection with myself. And so it goes back down to like if I don't know how I'm operating and being present with that, then I'm running on autopilot. And I'm not sure when my shadow parts are leaking in and taking over. What we call in our work are the saboteurs, right? The extreme versions of the restless, which is like working all the time and not being present. Then it really doesn't make me as an effective person as I want to be, because I don't totally have sovereignty over myself.
Mm.
Right? So it's all about sovereignty. It's all about recognizing if I allow myself to speak it in a space where I'm not judged, then I'm allowed to see myself. I'm able to start separating myself from those parts of myself, and I'm able to see where it came from. I can do the healing work. I can guide it. I can see the strengths. Though there's some sort of what we call like authority or governance. I know you don't probably don't like those words, or sovereignty or freedom over how I choose to respond. Yeah.
Interesting, because and I wonder how you would say that because, as you said, we are relationship creatures, so we do everything in relationships, and we evolve through relationships. And so I'm really seeing now in the culture so much adrenal fatigue, so much burnout, so much whatever. So there's a culture to me that is reflecting a shadow side of all our natures to disconnect ourselves from source, to overwork, to there's so many addictions. Suicide has gone up, particularly for men. Um, and so, how is it that we've come to this place where it's obvious there's a lot of not so life giving things? And then, how do we switch that around? And a lot of people think it's harder than it is. For me, I've seen people feel suicidal 1 minute and then they're like, oh, I get it. Oh, it's not as hard as we make it out to be to choose life again. And so, how do you see how the culture plays into the individual and then how the individual then shapes society again?
Yeah, that's a big question.
I don't know.
It's a balance, you know. It goes back to like relating and connecting with where people are at, you know, meeting them where they're at, and at the same time, um, raising them up as well. Um, it goes back to like, can I be with you despite our differences? Um, that's the joy of being a human being too, is our diversity of various personalities. And I think it boils down to acceptance, right? To allow like, you know, you to live your life, you know, as long as you're not harming other people. Like Summerland. Let's go to Summerland, and it's got all the summer parts that, you know, you enjoy about yourself. And I got Androland, right? It's kind of like, can we coexist um with various shades of colors that we bring forth into this world, um and perspectives. And so I think it's a balance of like, when am I losing myself in the culture?
Mm.
So it's a balance of like, how much sovereignty do I have for myself that makes me a unique individual, that I don't lose myself in the culture? And then what I can contribute to the culture, enjoy the culture, because that's a representation of the human consciousness. Is because as if like I'm in the whole soup, and like I can reject it. I can be like, you know, castrate myself out of that, but I'm disconnected to reality, right? To where people are at. It's like me decided to, you know what? Screw society. I'm going to live in the woods and do my own thing. Though, how am I really impacting like the human consciousness? Perhaps I can do my work there as one person. But I think for me, it's much more impactful if I put myself in the city and do my work with the people around me and impact them with my presence. Mm,
Well, I mean, there's a physical presence, but then I also believe more in also the collective consciousness, the 100th monkey rule. A monkey in wherever Africa washes his potato in salt water, and then a week later, a monkey that is not physically connected to him in several continents over learns the same way, right? So, um, I don't necessarily think we need physical presence to do that, although I think there is something extra special um, for the human race in terms of physical touch or physical presence that does add to it. Yeah.
yeah, for me, I believe it accelerates it. We're meant to be in contact with each other.
Hmm.
We're social beings. It's the human design, I believe, that human making is to be in relationship with each other. And I agree. Yeah, I can meditate or do my inner work and I affect the field 100%, the 100th monkey effect. Though I think it's much more impactful and accelerates it when I'm in the space, as if Buddha walked in the door, Jesus walked in the door, and it just really affects the space.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember one of our friends, Morgan and Jordan, when they were here, and I was really feeling heavy emotions. And it was one of the most healing experiences. She's a singer, and she just hugged me and sang this song to me, and it just had the deepest healing effect ever. It just so touched me. And so,
Mm,
yeah, I wonder, like in our community, we're not often slowing down enough to touch each other, to hold each other, to dance with each other, to just be, it's
mm,
like, okay, we come home from work, we make dinner, then we go off to all these sports or whatever. It's such a time constraint um, that really strips us from connection.
mm,
And even in our class last night, one of the ladies was saying that, one of her greatest um, aspirations, one of her greatest things that makes life meaningful is community. Yet people get into community, especially if they're on land, and they get so busy doing and getting stuff done that, oh, she's like, oh, I forgot that I'm actually here to connect with people, not do stuff.
mhm,
So it's
mm.
Such an interesting conundrum in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they always say, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And that's a reminder. Yeah. Yeah. And welcome, Kevin. Good
Yeah,
to
it's
have
just
you with us. Yeah.
sweet. I'm curious what it says is sweet. Maybe that the song, I think
And
that's maybe
maybe,
what he was
yeah.
talking
And,
about. Yeah.
and Chris says the shadow is essential. Yeah. We need the polarity. Hmm. Yeah.
I think it's who wrote Man's Search for Meaning? Viktor Frankl.
Mhm.
Viktor Frankl was a psychologist. He made it through the prison camps, and he
Mm.
talked about how man is both that who he is and that which he may become, and to think that we exist without some kind of tension, that we desire some kind of tensionless space. We don't want no stress. We want some kind of motivation or challenge put forth for us, just like a seed that's planted. It doesn't grow without the resistance of the dirt and the nutrients. But then again, when there's too much, it's deleterious to life. Oh,
Mm.
hey, Kevin.
Yeah. The nutrients. So I want to ask you that.
Mm.
What are the nutrients for you to grow? Like for you to grow your leaves? Like what's the nutrients in your soil?
This is fun. I like it when we come up with questions we don't even know that are coming. Okay. Nutrients in my soil. If I'm a seed, if I'm a little, they call them star seeds these days. What's the nutrients? Well, you know what? The biggest nutrients is just like, well, honestly, what's coming to mind right now is my daughter, children. Man, they just come in with the truth from the day that they're born. People, when there's this authentic touching, this authentic sharing of what's going on in me without the judgment that we've been taught to diagnose and label people. Also, when I can share my gifts, what I know my gifts are, and people receive it, and I can express in a way that people also enjoy. Time, quality time. I guess it gets back into love languages. Um, the nutrients of learning, growing, trusting. For me, the biggest nutrient for me is trusting that I'm here for a purpose, that I'm guided. And when I really do trust that and make my decisions out of that trust and faith, out of fear, it's it's exhilarating. You really get to see that what magic really means. It's not this super flaky, fluffy thing, and what people do on stage. It's what manifestation really is. It's what the secret's all about. It's about magic. Magic comes from the word magi, which means wisdom. It's like Yoda. It's the Yoda keepers. Um, so that magic, when I can trust and make my decisions out of that, just like Luke did in Star Wars, he trusted his own. I believe we are the most advanced bioengineered technology there is, when we can return to that state. And I mean, also use our AI and our technology along with how we're evolving. It's magical. It's fun. It's freaking fun. It's also sometimes a little nerve wracking, but like
Mm.
any movie, in your own movie, it's like, oh, wow, I'm meeting resistance. And then when you get through it, it's like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And that's the thing. When we're really into our assignment and we trust that, it's never anything that we could have thought of. We're
Mm.
so limited in our thinking. It's we can imagine it, but often I don't think we stretch ourselves enough to imagine what's really possible as the infinite beings that we are.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your nutrients.
Thank you for
And
asking. I've never heard that question before.
yeah, and everyone do share your nutrients. Like,
Yeah,
what are the
curious.
nutrients that help you grow? And I see a few here being shared. Chris's truth, love, touch, and connection. Yeah,
Truth.
yeah, gratitude, self love. Yeah, it's so important to start with love, loving myself first. So
Gratitude. Big one.
as we talk about relationship assignments, can you speak to the moments of like when we want to hit the eject button, when we're killing each other in the process, when we're like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, how to really stay in that, like,
Mm.
to remember it. Like, even when I think about, wait a minute, right? I chose you, right? If I thought about relationship or assignments, and let's say I'm judging you, I can even tell myself, wait a minute, I chose this. I'm like, oh, this is my test. And I can really like it helps me like kind of let go of that judgment, right? When I tell myself that. So I'd love to hear from you of like, how do we stay in assignment? How do we stay in relationship with each other when we don't want to be, when we want to kill each other?
Do you want to kill me sometimes?
No, only when I'm at a 10. Yeah,
Okay. Only then. Okay.
yeah. It's rarely though. There's more judges. Yeah.
um,
Killing someone, the thought of killing someone and taking revenge in that way is like, yeah, that's a berserker energy.
for those people listening, like he says a 10, like we have what's called a trigger scale, like from 0 to 10. Um, and people can slowly go up. They get slowly irritated, whatever. When we don't have self care, when we don't have those nutrients, then the possibility of triggers is really high. Self-sabotage starts to take over when we don't allow ourselves to access those nutrients. It's like any other kind of flower or seed, it's going to wilt and die and shrivel up somehow. And then when we're wilting and dying and shriveling up in relationship, there's that codependency stuff. We're like, oh my God, give me your nutrients. I'm dying over here. Um, and I'm totally going off on the side thing here because I thought that was so, I don't even remember what your question was.
Yeah. Kevin
What
says
was
there was a time I wanted to kill everybody. I get you. Just blow up the world, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. Like you understand why people take some people out sometimes, right? Like, can I just cleanse the
Yeah.
world? Not that
It's
we would
that
do that. We're not saying we do that kind of thing, but
well,
the
it's like
thought
being
is
in
there,
touch.
right?
Yeah, yeah, like the murderous rage, right? I have that in me.
Hmm.
And I remember a time where I vocalized my rage and someone said I had a demon inside of me to get rid of, right? To like, let's do some exorcism to like cure that rage. And I'm learning that rage is a healthy emotion. It's a it's a powerful emotion.
It's
It makes me
very
feel
powerful.
alive. It makes me want to do something. It sets boundaries. It destroys what's corrupted, right? Though it's like when I let my rage control me, when I'm blinded, when I'm seeing red, that's when it leads into like murder, right? Or killing someone or setting up a bomb. Yeah, I have those thoughts. I have those thoughts. Blowing up a block, lighting something on fire. There was a question of am I going through with it or not? Or am I observing it and seeing where that comes from, right? And having some sense of guidance around it. So honoring that rage in me too, and not
Well,
being
I think
afraid of
isn't
it.
that where our power comes from? Our power to have an effect in the world, to contribute to the world. And when we're stifled in that way, when we have to go to work 9 to 5 every day, like, ugh, glad you're laughing with us, Kevin.
Oh my God, Chris. Oh my.
Well, kill
It's good to laugh at.
him. Anyways, there's a sense of
Mm.
physical power that's amazing to have.
Right, right. It's just to honor all parts of
Assertiveness.
me. Like there's still a separation. I'm not immersed in it, right? And I'm drinking that Kool-Aid and I'm letting it just take over me. Though just being in touch with that rage and how can I channel it in a healthy way, right? That's those going back to like the question of like, how do we not kill each other when that rage comes up? You mentioned a big piece. It's self-care. And I want you to share more about that, like self-care. Why is that so important?
Yeah, it's a lot of people talk about that, right? Self-care, self-love. Blah, blah, blah. What is that really? Um, I really think it's about, well, three things that I always say, and that's accepting, honoring, and trusting what we're noticing in the present moment. It just goes back to Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. What is that exactly? It's acknowledging that our body is a conduit of truth at any given moment. And we've been taught to deny the truth until we hit some kind of crisis. A lot of us think these little nigglings, these signs in us are subtle, but we're taught to push through it like, oh, I'm hungry, I should take a 15-minute break. They give me that at work, but I'll just keep going and do more. I'll stay at work, I'll work 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Then we don't realize we're hangry, and then we don't get sleep, and then these other things happen. um, and some of our culture, because it's capitalist in nature and it's very fear-based, um, we often put money and things. People take holidays. I heard recently someone went on a holiday because they just wanted to get free of the stress. But people go on holidays, they take the stress with them. It's not really a fix-it thing. We can go on our greatest adventures by tuning into our own being. I was one of the greatest sources of nutrients is our imagination. And if you look up the meaning of it, it means to allow images to arise in the mind's eye. And most of us have taught it's this flaky, fluffy thing that kids do. And I think we're disconnected from the thing that's most powerful for us. Einstein says imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is only that which we already know. But imagine allows us to think of everything that is and could be, or things outside the realm of what already exists. And so it invites us into this creation. And again, fear can constrict us, fear of not having enough money, of not having enough stuff. And we're really, in our culture, focused on stability. People go get government jobs to, you know, they call it the golden handcuffs for a reason, and people stay. I saw my ex-husband used to work for the government. I saw men age 10 years in a year just being in that toxic environment where people cling to things as if they're going to take them with them when they die. Um, and it's not why we're here. That's not the assignment.
Mm.
And so the more that we can get in touch with those nutrients, the less likely it is that it goes sideways in these rageful ways. We channel the energy in these productive ways, but it is the difference, I think, between fear and trust, and accepting, honoring, and trusting what's alive in us, and learning how to do that in community. Like you said, we're relational creatures. How do we observe each other and share a nervous system? This is an aside, and this is just coming up for me because I think it's insane. Our world is so based around fear that our economic system tells you that war increases its life value. So our GDP goes up every time there's a war, which means that there's more value. But it's not the truth. We are not given more life and more well being and more nutrients when a war happens. It is so skewed in our world. But when we start making these choices for ourselves, the world does start shifting. And I see that's where we're going into what I call a spiritual age of energetic mastery, where we start to choose the nutrients over those things
Mm.
that incite unhealthy
Yeah.
rage, killing of each other. We kill
Well,
ourselves.
yeah. Well, I want to speak to that rage, right? Christine asks, is rage is a physical power, you mean? Well, it's an energy, right? It is an energy that is very powerful. It incites action, it incites protection. It's the energy that warriors and Vikings and samurai were on the battlefield to incite war and violence upon each other, right? And so it can be used to destroy or it can be used to create. At the end of the day, like Einstein said, everything is energy. And
Hmm.
rage potent energy that can be transmuted into something that's life-giving. It's the recognition of, okay, why am I rageful? There must be a need of mine that's not being met right now. And instead of letting that rage play out, just like I'm so triggering right now and judgmental of summer, and I let my words come out, that's violence, right? I'm inflicting violence and it's going to be collateral damage. So in the same way of recognizing my rage does it come up, do I have enough capacity? And it goes back to self-care. Self-care gives me the capacity to be able to witness it without being blinded by it, right? Because I have more energy. My sleep's good, I'm working out, I'm eating right, and so I have a sense of sovereignty over myself. And it does take work to be aware and have sovereignty over myself. Because when I don't work, when I'm lazy, I'm running on autopilot, and you
And
can call that
autopilot
being.
is oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that, and that's really being a zombie, being a robot. Yeah. But yeah, you say something about autopilot?
It's kind of floated in and floated out. I mean, I think when you say autopilot, I think that's autopilot is really the level of consciousness or culture that we're immersed in. And I would say a lot of people, I used to say I was a soldier, a robot, a zombie, just doing what I was. Okay, I gotta go to school. Oh yeah, I gotta get a job. I gotta do all of these things. Doing what you're told. And if it goes against your own nature, your own spirit, your own soul, your own assignment, eventually there's going to be the rage comes in some way. It can be turned inward into inflammation, into autoimmune disorders, it turns into your body. But rage, in terms of positivity of where you can put that, mamas and their children, if their children are in danger, that type of
Mm.
adrenaline rush that comes through rage, moms are known to pick up cars off their children and stuff, have immense power in moments when it's needed. Um, and so I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm going to say with that one, but autopilot versus being more in tune with the energy that
Mhm.
our bodies conduct.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being in touch with what's happening underneath me rather than just numbing myself. And when I numb myself, I'm not really connected to life. Then what's the
No.
point? I'm not really connected to myself. I'm not connected to other people. Yeah.
What time? I have a curveball to throw.
Yeah.
I know I have some clients and some different people. ADHD. I think I would have it. Um, Attention deficit disorder. There's this type of energy. Oh, I'm gonna do go here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here. Um, how is it? Why do you think we have so many people with that? It never used to exist. And it reminds me, squirrels, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And how is our nervous system being affected by, and I'm going to go back to the nutrients and the speed And people go to work and then they come home and they got to make dinner and then they take their kids to all these different places and they've got to go and they've got to go and they've got to go and they've got to go. And I know for myself, if I don't know how to rest and if I don't give myself permission to do that, I get sick. And so it seems to me we have a culture that is driven into self flatulation and slavery, um, that then uses medications to allow us to do more. And I know I have this two young clients, 18, 17, and they've gone on and off these things, and they're like, I notice I can do more. But then afterwards, I feel so disconnected from myself and I crash. I'm like, that's a very interesting observation. Yet there's this comparison of themselves and how productive they are in terms of other people in our culture, as if they have to produce as much as everybody else. And it's more like we're really, really, really treated like machines to produce. And instead of these sentient beings that we are. And our self-worth is predicated on how much we can do and how much we can make and how much we can earn or grow or have. And so I don't know what
Mm.
my question is, and I went on that diversion, but I wonder if there's a way that we can create a new nervous system for the planet that allows us to gain our nutrients in a different way. And in terms of attention deficit disorder, there's another thing they say, attuned to a higher dimension. How can we be and also survive in this economic system that for many is
Mm.
strangling right now at the same time?
Hmm. Yeah, for me, it comes back to choice, like awareness. I see ADD or ADHD as a label, and it's a spectrum. I can consider myself ADHD at times, and I can consider myself focused at times. It's a question of like, if my nervous system is wired to be restless and always busy, and I'm hooked on dopamine hits from my phone and all the social media apps, the marketing companies, casinos, liquor stores, they know how to tap into human biology and my survival mechanisms, you know? And so they can use that to their advantage to get my time and attention. So if I'm normally just doom scrolling on TikTok or IG, of course I'm building a habit where my focus is not that strong. Though I know I have the ability to build my focus if I wanted to, that's where I come from, is that I think it's it's a learned behavior. And if I were to prophesize, if I were to put a belief out there, perhaps it's a rising of consciousness, perhaps a new wave of star seeds, of volunteers, the new generation has a new way of being. Maybe they're wired differently. Though what I do agree is that we're all different in some way. We're not all the same. Our nervous systems are all wired differently as well, different blueprints. So there's perhaps some environment that's in there as well. So it's a pretty big question. Um,
Yeah, it is.
though I think with the way culture is going, with everything on demand, like Amazon, for example, like because I have Prime, I'm expecting 1 day delivery, and anything less is a disappointment. I'm expecting an answer right here, right now. When I'm calling customer service, I want a response right away, and I want to talk to a robot or so it's like this sense of entitlement that comes with it too,
Mm,
of of expecting things to be now because I'm so hooked on things being here instantaneously.
mm.
And it's the recognition of that, because if I'm not, it go back to autopilot. If I'm not recognizing that, then I'm running like that. If I'm stressed and running around, working 2 jobs in rush hour, coming back home, I'm addicted to that. My whole
Yeah.
body is looking for that. Just like as you mentioned, you're changing your diet, right? There's a certain period where the body's like, "Ugh," and it's gotta kinda reorganize itself.
Hmm.
Yeah,
We're going to be done soon, but
yeah.
part of me, because part of what I've done is natural vision improvement, and that is that I don't necessarily think we're meant to focus. We're naturally drawn our attention to different things to create. When we have such a specialization or a focus in one thing, we miss how relationships are created. And so I think sometimes the idea of what focus means is really more of an obsession and a forceful misinterpretation of how we may actually operate. And this is when my daughter went to school, they give them fidget toys. And my 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 daughter's very neurodivergent and dyslexic and extremely creative. And she went and did a course, and they noticed, like, she could be listening to music and look like she's not paying attention at all. And then they would ask questions about the material and what they were doing, and she could answer and remember more. It's like there's this way of absorbing and embodying information that's different than just using our head and trying so hard to, like, mentally focus. Whereas some of us have a natural gift, our gifts, that are more embodied, that we pick up easily. And so for me, it's like, well, why don't we go that way instead of trying so hard to fit ourselves into a mold?
Well, I say we'll see, and it goes back to everyone has a different blueprint, right?
Yeah.
A different way of being, and I think that's a strength, that's a superpower, highly sensitive children, neurodivergent. It's not the discrimination of it, of like saying, "No, you should study this way, you should work this way." That to me is not conducive for us to grow. It's the knowing where our strengths are, or zones of genius. Because I believe focus is a superpower.
Mm.
There's strength in that. I find the strength for me, for those that focus and get a task done, they follow through what they said they would do, right? There's certain tasks like air traffic controllers where you got to focus, right? So for those, maybe that comes naturally for them, and they play a role in society, right? So it goes back to the saboteurs. We all have different strengths. It's to recognize what our strengths are, and then we can contribute to society without judgment. That there's different ways of learning and accepting that. Yeah. Not like
Hmm.
one size fits all, right?
Yeah, back to relationships or assignments, and how do we all fit together in a way that allows us to get our nutrients. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all different plants, right? And different plants may need different types of sunlight, or amounts of sunlight, amounts different water, cactus plant versus an umbrella plant. Like with our umbrella plant, it was kind of losing leaves. We're like, what the heck's going on? Like now it's growing new leaves, right? So, but yeah, yeah, you should not should. That's right, Christine. Thanks for checking me on that. Shouldn't be should to myself. Yeah, it's such violent language, eh? It's
Yeah,
like a habit.
Marshall Rosenberg says that should is the most violent
Get to.
word in the English language. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We're about time here, and I'll have to create some space for you to share about the evolutionary emergence event and your upcoming talk.
Oh yeah, today that's exciting. If you guys are enjoying this, there's a whole evolutionary emergence event. I'm talking again at 2:30 about the soul, the empowered soul. How do we actually listen to our soul and what DNA really is? It's at 2:30. We'll put the link below. It's totally free. There's a whole bunch of really interesting speakers um, that are on today and tomorrow. And you have tomorrow morning a men's forum.
Yes, it's the Rising Masculine Men's Panel. Visionaries in Actions, myself, Kevin McNee, and Joey, and hosted by Oris. We'll be creating space to speak into the masculine of where we see the world going, like the role of men, the role of masculinity, right?
Mm.
So I'm excited about flowing with these brothers and speaking into what we think is becoming of how we plan to embody ourselves presently, because this is where we see the future going. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Kevin and Christine, I think, yeah, have been doing it, loving it. They say, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for your comments here. Chris, I saw your comment, beloved. I see you, brother. I appreciate it too. I'll just bring it up here as well. Here you go. Yeah, and that's our goal is that we have these type of conversations, real
Mm.
conversations, vulnerable conversations, to just be a mirror, uh, so that you begin to resource yourself, your power, instead of outsourcing it outside of you. Yeah. So thank you. Till next time, we're here again next Friday, 12 p.m. If you'd like to be a guest, reach out to Summer and I. We can set that up. Yes, you can come on here and chat with us too. Christine, Kevin, excuse me, Chris, Tracy, thanks for being on. Appreciate the laughter.
Yeah. Nate, too. He was here. So.
Yes, Nate. Ciao.